All right, guys, welcome to the Bit Scoop with Coop. I'm your host, Coop. Season 7 is going strong, people. Make sure if you have already, if you haven't, make sure you go to facebook.com/, the Big Scoop with Coop. Today's guest, yes, I'm coming from my personal page today. But today's guest, I got big things that's going to be going on with him. He played on The Cosby Show. And on The Cosby Show, he played as Martin Kendall. Also, he played in General Hospital. And with General Hospital, he played as Justice Ward. Guys, today's guest I actually have is Mr. Joseph Phillips. He's going to be coming on the show real soon, guys. So make sure, if you haven't already, this is your chance to type in your questions and everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be bringing on and the only Mr. Joseph Phillips, guys. Like I said, he did the Cosby Show. He actually did General Hospital, and he wrote a book. Mr. Phillips, how you doing today, sir?
I'm okay. I have to admit, I didn't know I was going to be on TV. I'm not ready for the camera, as they say.
You always ready, Mr. Phillips? You always ready?
No, I'm not.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure how to set this so that it can be seen best. This is not a good angle. I'll try that right there.
All right, you probably have to turn it back the other way because he got you sideways.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's perfect. That is perfect.
All right, we'll do that.
All right. Now, Mr. Phillips, I was telling everybody on the show right now that, you've done a lot of things in your career, from movies, television. You're even an author of a book that we will talk about in a minute also. And, a lot of people want to know.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
I'm sorry. I got to disagree, man. We've seen you, and we've seen what you've done. Yes, you have mastered a lot. Seriously, you have. Now, Joseph, I have to ask this because everybody wants to know, when did you first realize that you wanted to become an actor?
I was in high school doing, I was in the drama club, the speech club. Actually, I started joining clubs when my parents separated, and I was quite unhappy at home. And so I joined every club. My sophomore year in high school, I joined every club there was, so I didn't have to go home. Always something to do after school, projects and meetings and these types of things. And I had a real love for the stage. I still do love being in front of an audience. There's nothing like that a live audience. That the give and take, hear the people laughing at your jokes, or the silence when they're really listening to you, and the smell of the theater was something I loved. And I decided then that I wanted to be an actor. And in the years past, or the years that have passed, I've decided that when was that? That was probably 15, 16 years old. That's much too early to decide what you want to do with your life. Much, much too early. And, and then, now, oh my God, 40 years later?
Wow.
Here I am.
Wow. Now, Ms. Phillips, what type of hurdles did you go through when you actually first started, in acting? You got your big break, and then they said, okay, you're in Hollywood. What type of hurdles did you go through to get to the success that you actually was doing today?
Well, I would say a couple of things. The first thing is I'm still waiting on my big break. The second thing is the term success is very odd to me. I mean, how does one define success? A few years ago, I was driving Uber. I'm working part-time now as a substitute teacher. And
Okay.
when school ends in a couple of weeks, I have all summer, I have to do something to make some money. So I would argue that I am not a success, that I spent 40 years in the business, and that I am still not a success. But others would say, and I think when I'm in a more optimistic mood, or less pessimistic at any way, or less cynical mood, some would say, well, look at your resume, look at everything that you've done, and even now,
Right.
I do count myself lucky that I've been associated with some iconic shows in my career. The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
What a great thing to have on my resume that I was on one of, if not the best situation comedy of all time, certainly one of the best.
Yes.
And for the '80s, there was nothing else. This was the number one program, not only in the country, it was the number one show in the world.
So true.
And my first season, it was still number one. The last two seasons, it dropped off. And then a few years later, to be part of General Hospital, which you know, is one of the last daytime dramas to still be on the air. And just that legacy of that daytime show. And now to be on 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, which was quite a surprise to me when I auditioned and was cast. I just thought I was playing somebody's father. I was an Air Force colonel, and okay, it was just a job, a gig, because I had to pay some rent. Saying goodbye to my son now, who's a senior on his way to college
Big shout out
next
to him.
year. So, yeah, so I'm very proud of him. He's on his way to practice.
Congratulations.
At any rate, so then next thing I know, I did 6 episodes that first season. I did 11 episodes the second season. It was the biggest show, the biggest streaming show on Netflix, biggest streaming show in the world.
Yep.
So I've been very fortunate, and this past year, of course, I've continued to do guest star work, and so I think that in that respect, then maybe I have had some success.
Yeah, you have. You have. Now, Joseph,
Still waiting on that big money so I can buy my vacation property, my second home, get rid of this 10-year-old car, etc. But I guess that's
well,
very different definitions of success.
but you know what? The rate that Netflix is going right now, how they're picking up original episodes and picking up movies and everything, trust me, if you're doing one thing on Netflix, they're still looking at you. So trust me, that car and everything else will be paid off real soon. I'm speaking that right now.
Well,
It's definitely coming. Yes, sir.
from your
Now,
lips to God's
you know,
ears. Okay.
yes, sir. Now, like I said, your resume, we all said it's big. It's big. Now, did you have any mentors that helped you out when you first started in the industry?
Oh, I have to think, and I think that no, I didn't. I mean, there were friends, but I didn't have benefit of anyone who was guiding me through the process, guiding me through. I was feeling my way from the first time I stepped out on the streets of New York and walked, passing out pictures and resumes. That first summer, I actually wore out a pair of shoes.
Wow.
And I've told this story 100 times. It's not hyperbole. Oh, I wore out my shoes. No, I really wore out the sole of shoes. I had a hole at the end of the summer. I had a hole in the bottom of my shoes. So I put in that work. But I'll say this, and I don't know how many people do have that benefit, but I know that I have really wanted all throughout my career somebody who really believed in me, who thought, this guy has got something, and I'm going to stick with him. So I'm going to do something. See, again, I didn't know I was going to be on the screen. I apologize, people. I caught a cold. I was in New York for 5 days over the weekend.
Okay.
My eldest graduated from college. And so I caught a cold, and I
Congratulations.
have to blow my nose right now.
Do your
I'm
thing.
talking, and everything is just draining in.
No, do your thing. And guys, everybody that's watching right now, like I said, this is your chance. If you have any questions for Joseph Phillips, please type them, because at the end of the show, I'm going to read your questions to him. So this will be your chance to actually ask Joseph any questions that you have dealing with his career, his book that we will talk about, and everything in 1 minute. So this is your chance right now, guys. Ask away your questions, and I will read them. But yes,
So as I was saying, that always wanted to have benefit of somebody who in the industry who just really believed in me,
okay,
and I think that type of belief and mentoring is probably rare. I don't know how many people in the industry, how many actors have had benefit of that. I know a couple of people who, at least from my viewpoint, have had some taste of that. I really have not, until I think more recently in my career. Uh, I I years ago, this was going back, I think 2008.
okay,
I was doing readings down at a theater, a local theater here, Pacific Coast Repertory Theater, and a friend of mine they would have me come in and do play readings. They never auditioned me for any of the plays, and I would do readings for them, and then they would pat me on the back. Oh, you were fantastic! And oh, thank you so much. And then I would go home, and then I would find out later. Oh, you know, they did this play. You would have been perfect in that. That's why they didn't even read me. You know, I thought they liked me. And sure enough, the next year they called me in to do their play reading festival. So a friend said, well, you need to just call and ask. So, and he knew of a play that they were doing down there. So I called, well, actually emailed at that time. And the casting director said, well, we're not doing that play. There's another play that we're doing that you might be right for. And I'll flash ahead. I had to audition, and they didn't hire me. They hired Reg Cathey, who just passed away, who's a fantastic actor, great guy.
yes,
And I have to say, when they told me, well, Reg Cathey is doing the role, he had workshopped the role in New York and that. And I said, oh, okay. You know, I didn't feel bad because I love Reg so much. You know, he literally one of my favorite people in the world. So
okay,
even though we weren't real tight, I just had always really liked him, and we always, every time we bumped each other on the street, we would talk, and I really liked Reg. So,
good,
and my book was coming out. Then they called and they said, well, because Reg was doing the Wire at the time, and they
okay.
said, well, Reg can't do opening night. We need somebody to fill in for Reg opening night. Will you do it? And that's when I admit my back got a little up. Well, you hired him, you know. And so I tried to get out of it. Well, I have you know, my book was coming out at the same time. I'm doing a book signing on such and such date. Oh, that's perfect, because that's the date after you would go on. Okay, God is trying to
Wow.
tell me something.
Yes.
So, make a long story short, I went down, I stood by for Reg. I ended up doing the first preview performance, and I did opening night for Reg.
Nice.
And Tanya Barfield, who is the writer of the play, it's called The Blue Door.
Okay.
Tanya ended up taking the play to Harare, to the Harare Theater Festival in Zimbabwe. She called me and she said, I want you to come and do the role in Harare. And then we were talking on the plane coming back. Oh, what are you doing now? Well, I'm working on a new play. We landed whenever, and a couple months later in the spring, I got called down to do a reading of her new play. And she took me to the side. She said, Joseph, I wrote this role for you.
Wow.
And I ended up doing the play, the new play, that summer.
Okay.
And it was a supporting role. It wasn't one of the leads. It was a supporting role. I had a great time.
Nice.
And that was the only time that kind of magical thing that you hear happening in Hollywood, where they, you know, because you hear all the time people hire the same people, they have friends.
Yeah.
That was the only time. And I know this is a long story. I hope I'm not
No,
boring
no,
people.
no.
But
Go ahead.
flash forward a few years, I'd opened a restaurant. My restaurant closed. My wife and I we lost basically everything. $250,000 just gone. And when I think about it, I still get sick in my stomach. It was very traumatic. Well, a buddy of mine said, well, if you want to get back in the business, and I wasn't even sure, because I had taken a hiatus of, at that time, probably it was 3 years at that point. He said, if you want to get back in the business, I want to connect you with my manager. I said, well, I don't know what I want to do. My wife and I are having problems, and
Right.
I was traumatized by being in the restaurant business. I'm not, again, I'm not exaggerating. I used to drive by the
Right.
restaurant depot and I would start sweating and my heart would start beating. It was a horrible period in my life.
Wow.
And so I met with these managers and they said, well, we'd like to work with you. They, Peter and Tara, I'll say their names,
Yeah. Mhm.
they waited a year for me. Just let us know when you're ready. So I really, that's probably the second time where I felt that there were people who were willing to, who believed in me enough that
Mhm.
they said, we'll wait until you get it together and you're emotionally ready to go back out and audition and get back in these shark infested waters. So
Mhm.
that's the long answer to your question. Two
Nice.
two periods, two times I think.
Nice. Big shout outs to Peter and Tara. I know you all are watching right now. Big shout outs to you guys. Um, Joseph,
Oh,
what was
they're
the
on
name
the.
of the restaurant?
It was called Daddy J's Wing Shack, and we were in Encino, and it was like it implies. It was wings. We sold wings. Uh, I think we had 11 different flavors. We made all the sauces in house. Well, save one. We bought our teriyaki sauce, but we made everything else. It was all my recipes.
Mm.
We had two different sandwiches and two salads and French fries.
Yeah,
But it was wings. That's what we did.
man. You know what, Joseph? I need you to come to North Carolina and open that restaurant again because you will make some sales down here. This is the state of the wings right here.
Oh, we had sales. That was not the problem. We had sales. We had revenue every month. We had loyal customers. Uh, 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 we had a couple of, it's L.A. Billy Blanks was
Mm.
one of our big customers. He apparently he tasted our wings at a party, and he said, "Where'd you get these wings?" And they said, "Oh, it's this place up the street, whatever, whatever." He
Right.
came in the next day, and whenever he was around, he was in our store, and we heard from because we got to know because his friends were also loyal customers.
Okay.
He had been in Germany with the troops, got off the plane from Germany, flying Germany, I guess Germany, New York, LA, got off the plane, said, meet me at Daddy J's. So we had loyal customers. We
Okay.
had revenue. We had people. We had an apple barbecue sauce, which, of course, you don't get anyplace else.
Right.
People would come in the store, apple barbecue, what is that? Here, taste. Ooh, I have some of those. So after, of course, our regular hot wings,
Hmm.
apple barbecue was the next, and then that sold even better than lemon pepper, if you can believe that.
That is hard to believe.
But we had people going into the competition asking for apple barbecue. People
That's
would
crazy.
come back and they would say, "Yeah, I was in line. So and so said that they overheard somebody. Oh, we don't serve that. We thought you guys had no. That's that place down the street. So we had plenty of revenue, but we had customers. We had lots of customers. Our food costs were just too high, and
Wow.
I won't get into that whole lecture because I suddenly learned a little bit about business and economics and these types of things.
Mhm.
I was substituting a fourth grade class, and kids they start asking questions,
Oh
and
yeah.
I started. I won't give you the whole thing, but I found myself in this digression. They started. It was. The whole thing is about how technology influences workers, and that's what they're
Right.
talking about California and the kids here learning about California history and all of that. So the gold rush and oil and the Chinese Exclusion Act and all of this stuff. In fourth grade, they're learning that.
That's crazy.
So I was using some examples about technology affecting workers, and I used the example of the kiosks showing up in fast food places. And the kids started asking questions about that. And then I started in with labor costs and food costs and how your labor, how it suddenly would cost less for labor. And then they started asking more questions. And then I started in on food costs and blah, blah, blah. And I looked over at the aide and she was looking at me like, what? And I started laughing. I said, you know what? We are way, way off the topic. And I could see some of the faces of the fourth graders because it was information, and they were asking questions. So they were picking up bits and pieces of it. And it was interesting to them, but no. So
Wow.
yeah, I can talk about all that now. I learned quite a bit about business, and one of the things I
Yes.
learned about business is I hate owning a restaurant. That I know.
Well, congratulations once again. You've tried it, you've learned, you experienced it, and the thing is, you're still doing what you love right now, and that's dealing with the television and movie industry. So that's one thing I can say. I'm glad you're not saying that you hate that because you shine and you
Well,
excelled in everything you've done. So
thank
I'm
you.
glad to say that.
But I have to
Yes.
say, because I know one of the things that you had mentioned, when I was trying to get on, and you were talking about people who are interested in getting in the business. That's one thing that has not changed. This is really a horrible, horrible business to be in. And I would say to people that unless you really love it, to find something else to do, because
Wow.
you mostly end up not doing what it is that you love. Your job as an actor is auditioning. It's not acting. Well,
Mm,
another way to look at that, and a way that I've tried to look at it, is that your audition, that 1 minute that you get, is your opportunity to act for free, because most of the time, now this some years ago, I added up all the time I was working versus all the time I didn't work. And
okay.
again, people say, well, you've had a nice career. Okay, but I've also been unemployed about 50% of that time.
Jeez.
So, and I don't know how that fits in with, you know,
Right.
other people, but I do know that at any given day, 96%, 97% of Screen Actors Guild is unemployed. So,
Mm,
and there used to be a time, I think, and this was I was like on the end period of this, where you
okay.
had people who were just middle class actors, just working, kind of churning stuff out, and then
Right.
you had people at the very cream top. I think that has changed a little bit. You've got some people making, working all the time, and then you have a gap, and there's it just kind of falls off, sprinkles, and then you have a lot of concentration on the bottom of people not working at all.
Wow.
Let's not forget, just a few months ago, all over Facebook, Jeff Owens' picture was plastered because he had a gig, not an acting gig, but he had his rent pay job at Trader Joe's. And
Yep.
as I said, I was delivering chicken. It was my store, but I was still delivering. I show up at somebody's door because I had dreads at the time, my hair wrapped up in my shirt, Daddy J's, you know, uh,
Okay.
delivering chicken. And after that, I drove Uber for 4 months, and my back went out. But and that was another thing, sitting in that Uber, and people would get in. Hey, aren't you? How you doing? Well,
Right.
what's happening? Well, I had a restaurant. I got bills to pay. I got to do what I got to do.
And you know
So,
what, Joseph? I think a lot of people forget that that I think they thinking that actors is always working 24/7. Like if you stop one show, and some actors do this, you
yeah,
stop one show, you have another show already built up, like the Kevin Harts and stuff like that. Yes, you have some people that does that, but then there's some people that still striving to get to from point A to point B as an actor or as an actress. I'm not counting out the women neither. So I think a lot of people forget about that part, that you still have to audition to get roles, to continue to get
Oh yeah.
paid, to take care of your bills and your family. Now, I do want to bring it back on
And
one
we
thing
never
real
make
quick,
as
because
much as people think that we're making.
that's the magic thing also. A lot of people don't believe that.
Yeah.
People think it's multi-millions every time your face is shown on television. And a lot of people are dead
All right.
wrong about that. They're dead wrong.
Well, let me
Now,
just
one thing
break.
I want to
Let me
ask you,
break a couple of things down because uh, the first thing is that the rate that they pay actors actually, in a lot of ways, has gone down. Well, let me speak for myself because I don't know what other people are doing, but I know for
right,
me, uh, like you used to be able to work your quote up to a certain level, and then that's what people
okay,
would pay you. And that still comes into play, but only as a guide for people to give them some idea. But they offer you what they offer you. They don't have to pay you your quote.
wow,
With a lot of the cable stations now, they pay a lot less.
okay,
But then you have to pay your manager. If you have a manager, you got to pay them 10%. That comes off the top. That's not off the net. That's off the gross. Your
oh,
agent, that's also off the gross. Then you have your taxes. And if people aren't aware, you might get a big check.
hmm,
You get a couple thousand, whatever, whatever. Let's say you get $10,000. Well, you're taxed as if you make that kind of money all year, every week or every month, all year.
hmm,
That's how the tax rate works. So
wow,
they don't take into account, well, that's going to be the only 10 grand he makes all year. So they take 30% of that 10. No, they take it as if so you end up with a lot less money
gee,
than you know.
I did not know that. I didn't know
Oh
that.
yeah,
I think a lot
oh
of us
yeah.
just learned something new about that. Now, talking about the tax break and everything, let's take it back to the late 80s, early 90s when, you was in the prime of the Cosby Show. Now, we
Right.
saw the success that happened there. Now, do you feel like the sitcom era is dead now, as far as it goes for television, compared to now, compared to back in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, Cosby was credited with reviving that genre,
Hmm.
which had kind of grown stale up to the point of the Cosby Show. And then after the Cosby Show, you saw, um, what was it? Not Family Matters, although that did follow the Cosby Show, so
Right.
that would be Family Matters. But uh, the one with Meredith Baxter Birney, or Meredith Baxter, and Gross, and oh my God,
Did it come on NBC also?
yeah. Oh, there was another family show. The one, and I can't remember the actor it made famous. He who did Teen Wolf, and then he went on to do,
Michael,
and he has
talking about Michael J.
Parkinson's now.
Fox.
Michael J.
Michael J.
Fox's
Fox.
show.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So there was that show, and then of course the spin-off of Cosby, Different
Different
World.
world.
So you saw a lot, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So you saw a lot of show. Family Ties. Somebody just printed Family Ties.
Yeah.
That's it. So so all of that is from Cosby breathing new life into the genre. I have to be honest. I don't watch sitcoms anymore. I
Okay.
watch very little network television.
Hmm.
And part of the reason is, and because I don't watch, I can't really be a critic,
Right.
but I can say that when I see the commercials, I find myself going, that really looks stupid. And I'm not sure, I'm one who believes there really are no new ideas. The world is old enough that we find ourselves recycling a lot. But if you're
Yes.
recycling stuff that I have seen over and over again in my brief little time on the planet, then I think that's
Hmm.
really saying something. So I don't. My sense kind of is that that genre is going through another bit of a change, or taking, or searching for some new
Right.
blood, new breath. Yeah, that's my
Right.
sense.
Well, do you
And
feel
of
like the
course,
Cosby
you got
Show
to
could
look
ever?
back to those days. Go ahead.
Oh no, no, I was gonna say, do you feel like that the Cosby Show could ever be recreated ever again? Not with the same characters, but just the concept. Do you feel like that could ever happen in today's time?
Well, the Cosby Show is not an original concept.
Right.
It's a family. It was a family. You know, the situations, the comic situations came out of the family dynamic.
Hmm.
So, and in that sense, you know, the Cosby Show was no different from Happy Days or Good Times, or Dick Van Dyke Show, Andy Griffith Show, uh, going back all the way to Danny Thomas. And if I don't know if I can go further back, then I'm not that old, but I'm thinking back. So,
Right.
or even some of the shows on that, you know, from the radio. Uh,
Hmm.
but the thing that made the Cosby Show special, let's be honest, was Bill Cosby. It was Bill's humor, Bill's sensibilities, and Bill was the brains, not the only brains behind the show.
Right.
There were other, you know, some the producers, I'm sure, deserve some credit, directors, that
Hmm.
kind of thing. But this was Bill Cosby, and the show was great because Bill, uh, in my opinion, was one of the funniest, particularly around family comedy. It's one of the funniest people, you know, working.
Right.
And for my taste, I'd always been a big fan of Bill. I thought he was one of the funniest people ever in my life. I loved Bill Cosby.
He
I mean,
was.
as a
Yeah.
stand-up comic, I memorized his routines, and my father loved him. I loved Bill Cosby.
Nice.
So can the show be recreated? Not unless you can pull Bill Cosby, you know,
Right.
put him back in a how old was he? You know, late 40s, uh, body, early, well, was it
Early
early,
50s.
however old he was, I have no idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
early 50s.
Hmm.
And and then, of course, the elephant in the room, how do you brush off that legacy? And is his legacy, it's tarnished, but is it dead? Is it
Can't be.
destroyed?
Nah.
Well, you know, I think that right now, I think people would like to not give Bill credit for some things that and want to focus on the very negative and horrible aspects
Hmm.
in his later years. I think that in time, maybe some of the other things will come back around. The fact that, for instance, the fact that he opened the door for black uh,
Yep.
um, stunt people,
Right.
you know, that type of thing,
That is true.
uh, philanthropy. Bill has a you know, he had a glorious legacy. It was one of the reasons that I admired him so much.
Right.
But of course, and I think this is a question, and I'm not ready to answer it,
Hmm.
certainly not right now, but not right here. But I think it is a question, and it might, as a society, we probably are trying to answer it. Is, you know, does does that negative, immoral, and illegal behavior wipe out the good things that someone does in their life? And if so, how, you know, does it? How much does it? Can we still celebrate those things while condemning the bad things?
Right. I feel like you still can. I mean, this is just my own personal opinion because he made such a legacy, and not just him, because it was a cast, including you. You all made a legacy where people tuned in on. Let me get it right. I think it was Thursday nights, NBC.
Thursday
Yeah,
nights,
I
NBC.
still
Yeah.
remember like yesterday. People is not going to erase that out their heads. If you watch the episode, you kind of got hooked. You want to keep seeing it, especially when they were actually not reruns. You want to see what's going to happen from
Well,
next night.
I'll tell you this: a very particular generation grew up on that show,
Hmm.
and maybe their kids, but I hate to, I really feel old now, but there's a generation now that really doesn't have access to that show for the reasons that we're talking about.
Right.
And so it used to be that, of course, in the 80s and 90s, I would go someplace and somebody would ask, who's watching Cosby Show? Every hand in the room would go up.
Right.
And then a few years later, same question, and it was half.
Mm.
If I show up sometime now, if I'm in a classroom teaching, and kids ask me, Mr. Phillips, you're an actor? Yes. Well, what have you been in? Well, have you ever seen The Cosby Show? No, what's that?
Oh.
I go, wow,
Oh.
man, that happened fast.
Uh,
That happened fast. I had, when I
yeah.
was in New York, a woman came over. Are you? Yeah, you look just the same. Oh, thank you so much. I didn't have this gray back then. And I was about 25 pounds lighter. But she was saying to her son,
Uh-huh.
who was high school age,
Right.
senior in high school, I was like 17, 18 years old. This is, from the Cosby Show, and I grew up on that. And he just kind of laughed. He said, I've never seen it.
What?
And I laughed. I said, well, yeah. So
Wow. Now,
it's, yeah.
I'll have to ask this, Mr. Phillips, because people want to know this. What was the environment like in the Cosby Show and General Hospital when the cameras was not rolling? Was it like a big family, or how was it?
Uh, well, it's interesting. It was two different experiences. My my experience on the Cosby Show, when I started, I was 27 years old.
Okay.
I was single.
Hmm.
It was, as I said, the biggest show the in the world.
Hmm.
Uh, so, and it was at the end of its run.
Right.
So a lot of the cast was already kind of off doing other things. There was a kind of familial feel, but I wouldn't say, certainly for me, I was at the very bottom of the totem pole, came in, as I said, season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came in season 5. So the family had already been together for all those years and had had taken that ride up to the pinnacle. I
Okay.
came in once the show was at the pinnacle. So they had a particular bond, and I think they really felt like a family. The other thing was I was an appendage of Lisa Bonet, who had been off the show for 2 years, a year, and then had come back. And Lisa then was married, and she has had her own thing. So there was a very different dynamic. And as I said, I really wasn't interested in what was happening on the set. My eyes were focused outwards. Everything that was happening to me,
Okay.
just how my life was changing, for my career to take this big change, women, just new
Yeah.
opportunities, social opportunities, everything. Now,
Hmm.
on General Hospital, I was newly married, had just moved out to Los Angeles. And now that program, because of how it's filmed, how it's taped, uh, I think there was more of a family type of feel there. Uh, Rosalind Cash, who played my grandmother, who played Granny Mae,
Okay.
or and then Sanait Ashanafi, the three of us
Hmm.
were, I think, grew to be pretty tight. We came on, well, Sanait and I came on after Rosalind Cash did. The great, as I should say, the great Rosalind
There
Cash,
you go.
who I still miss. And Claire Labine loved the Ward family. I mean, she loved the Ward family, and she
Nice.
wrote beautiful things for us to do.
Hmm.
And so we just had great fun. There was also a group of us. uh, God, and I'm gonna put on the spot, and now I'm not remembering people's names, but uh, parts of the Quartermain family, and so we were all kind of in the same age range,
Okay.
and a lot of our stories were. So we were riding this wave together, and I think that kind of built a bit of a bond between us. Of course, and I think it was also there's more opportunity for us to sit around and talk. There were more. I just have there were more things that we did together as a cast.
Hmm.
Of course, the big nurses' ball. There were more times when everybody was just on the set, sitting
Right.
around talking, and I think that that more built a stronger bond between people, and that didn't exist on the Cosby Show.
Nice. Now we will fast forward from the Cosby Show and General Hospital. Let's talk about what you have going on right now. You have a book that's out that people are asking about.
Well,
That
that's a long time ago too.
well,
I thought you fast forward
no,
to what I'm
not
doing
present.
now.
No, not present.
Okay,
Not present. No.
okay.
Yes. So let's talk about that. He talked like a white boy. You wrote that book. Tell us about the book.
Oh man. So, uh, well, it's a collection of essays. I haven't thought about the book in a while, but the book really it's exploring notions of identity
Okay.
and what does it mean to be black, and specifically, can one be black and not hold to certain uh, attitudes, ideas, specifically political ideas, and still have ownership of their identity.
Hmm.
And the book started really after 9/11, and I was
Okay.
so moved, I think, as the rest of the world was, and I began writing, and I was writing just my feelings, and uh, then I started fussing with folks online. The internet was fairly new, and email, and there were um, threads,
Oh,
email threads, and so I was posting, and I have to really think back. I think at that time I did have. I think my website. No, I think my website came up around the same time,
okay.
2001, and uh, some people began to contact me through back channels
Hmm.
that they were enjoying reading what I was writing. They weren't commenting, and they weren't agreeing with me as I was fighting with 8 people, you know, but they were reading,
Okay.
and they were encouraging me to write more. And my wife encouraged me to write. She said, well, you need to write this down and then maybe send it off, try to get published. And I ended up getting published in Newsweek. And
Mm.
Tavis Smiley, oh, so you know what? I take back what I said earlier. Tavis, definitely somebody who,
Mentor.
I wouldn't say a mentor, but Tavis definitely instrumental, and believed in me and gave me a break. Absolutely. I'm sorry. Tavis, if you watch, I'm sorry. I,
Big
I,
shout outs to
I didn't
us.
think of that. But he read my Newsweek column.
Hmm.
He said he was on a plane. He read it. He called me up and he asked me. He said he was starting his radio program. Would I come on and do it as a commentary on his radio program? Which
Okay.
I did. And as I was leaving, he said, "Well, if you ever write anything else, let me know." At that point, I was writing 2 columns a week. I said, "I've got a ton of stuff."
Hmm.
Tavis said, "Well, send it over." So I became a regular commentator on Tavis's radio show. And at one point, I said, "Well, I would love to do what Tavis is doing, his radio program, and he's branching off into television. I'd love to do this."
Hmm.
I said, "Tavis, what do I have to do? How can I?" And Tavis said, "Well, the first thing he said, you should write a book." I said, oh, great. I'll just go home and write a book. I mean, he said, well, listen, you're giving me all these commentaries. There's your book right there.
Wow.
Just put them together.
Wow.
I said, wow, okay, I guess I can do that. So Tavis challenged me, and I went back and I spent the next couple of months. I put all my essays together,
Mhm.
and I plopped it on Tavis's desk. I said, here it is. And the title at that time was Cowboys and Colored People, which is the title of a comedy album by Flip Wilson.
Okay.
And it's from a punchline of a joke. I won't tell the whole joke because I'll mess it up. But essentially, he's talking to an Indian, or they called Indians back then, we called Native Americans, and he says something rude and off color, and the guy responds, "Yeah, but I never heard anybody playing Cowboys and Colored People." So I use that as my title. And then eventually we changed it to He Talked Like a White Boy.
Okay.
But so Tavis wrote the foreword for my book,
Okay.
and then I began trying to self-publish it, and I don't even remember who it was that put me in touch with somebody who was going to help me. And this woman said, "Why are you self-publishing this?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I thought that's what I should do." She said, "No, hold on." And she made a call to a publisher, and while I'm on the line, she left a message for him. And
Okay.
this guy called me back. He said, "Well, what do you have?" And I sent it to him along with, I sent everything I had along with, my bio and all of that. Now, at that time, I was on several websites writing every week.
Okay.
I was in several newspapers across the country. And I think that kind of was influenced because I had readership. And I had also done something smart in that I had gone around to a lot of people I knew, and I had them read segments of the book, a few chapters, and write blurbs for me. So I had the book basically already complete, along with the
Okay.
marketing and everything ready. At any
Nice.
rate, they called back and they flew me to Philadelphia and sat me down. And they said, "We want to do your book. Here's an editor. We're going to make some changes." So they had me rewrite some stuff and to give it some flow. And I pulled stuff out, rewrote essays. There were shorter essays, longer form essays in there. We changed the title, and uh, they gave me a little advance, and they published my book.
Man, big
And I
shout out to
went
you.
on yeah.
Nice. Now, Joseph, how can people buy that book? Where can they purchase it at?
Amazon.com.
Okay.
Or you can go online. I guess they still sell it. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. You might be able to get it in the bookstore, Barnes and Noble. I don't know. As I said, it was a
Everybody,
while.
yes.
It was a while ago. And
Everybody that's watching right now, if you got a chance right now, well, not right now because you're watching the interview, but after this interview, go to Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble, find this book. It's something you want to buy, read, learn a lot from this, guys. This is a collector's item you got to get.
well,
Yes.
I thought it was a good book. I
There
thought it
you
was a
go.
good book, and
Yeah.
I started writing another one, and I actually did write another one that I published in pieces onto my website, which is iamjosephcphillips.com, uh, and that's called Olivia's Daddy, and so that's about my time on the Cosby Show. It's about my time on the Cosby Show and my battle with depression, which
Okay.
I suffered from for many years, and didn't really realize it until after I got married. But certainly was suffering from it during those years on the Cosby Show, which is a
Wow.
very odd experience to be in the midst of a really wonderful and glorious change in one's life,
Hmm.
and still there were times I was walking the streets of New York with a cloud over my head, staying in my apartment. And for younger guys, I will just say that the, and particularly back in the late 80s, the opportunities uh, for social interaction, shall I say, um, just ballooned, as you can imagine.
Of course.
And how many times I stayed in, just sat in my apartment watching TV, rather than go out, rather than return phone calls, rather than uh, investigate flirtations, that
Right.
kind of thing. So I thought it was kind of an interesting, that there was some interesting stuff in there. But that's, but and I haven't published it as a book yet, but it's a series of essays on my website.
Nice. Man, everybody make sure you go check out their website, check out the essays, check out Joseph's website all around, people, because there's probably some very interesting things up there that you will be able to see. Make sure you do that.
So that's I am josephcphillips.com. If you go to just josephcphillips.com, you got somebody else. That is not
Mhm.
my website. I
Right.
am josephcphillips.com.
Check it out after this show, guys. Now, Joseph, I know I'm not gonna hold you long. I know you're a busy man. How can people follow you on social media?
Doing nothing.
Oh,
But not today anyway. No, I'm gonna brag a little bit. My oldest son just graduated, who I mentioned earlier. I was in
yep.
New York. He just graduated college, so he's here, and so yeah, that's my plan for this afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna make sure you get your family
Yeah.
time in. Is there a way that people can follow you on social media?
Well, I am on Facebook. I Twitter um, at Joseph C. Phillips, and that's the same thing for my Instagram,
Okay.
and then of course uh, my website is iamjosephcphillips.com.
Nice. Now, right now, are there any other current projects that you're working on in the industry right now that you're that's about to come?
Well, I mentioned before I'm currently on 13 Reasons Why, which is Netflix.
Hmm.
Uh, Let me see. Criminal Minds. I don't think that's aired yet.
Okay.
I'm doing uh, a 3 episode arc on Criminal Minds. So
Hmm.
I end that's the end of their series. I'm in the I'm not in the last episode. I'm in the 3 before the last episode. I don't know
Okay.
how you say that. Not the second to last, but the fourth to last, the third to last, and the second to last episodes before the series finale. So
Okay.
that was a big blast, and all of my scenes are with Paget Brewster, who I did the film Let's Talk About Sex with. So if you can find Let's Talk About Sex
Yep.
somewhere floating out there, then Paget is in that film as well. So I'm
Nice.
doing that, and um, just have my fingers crossed on a couple of other things. Uh, I shot a pilot this spring, and I just found out that did not get picked up. So,
Okay.
as you know, this is kind of circular, going back to this is this is what the business is about.
I understand.
You just you get one gig, but you always looking for the next one,
Hmm.
because unless that gig is Game of Thrones.
Well, that's cut. That's over now.
Right. Yeah, but they got all the, and you're right. Now that's over, and all of them now back out hustling for the next gig.
Yep.
That's the life
You're
of
right.
an actor.
You're right. Now, Joseph, you've been doing this for the whole episode, but I'm still going to ask, what advice would you give any male or female that wants to become an actor or actress or even an author of a book?
First, go get some therapy because there's clearly something wrong with you. No, Well, my attitude about things has really changed so much over my years in the industry, and I think
Okay.
now I'm kind of a grizzled kind of. Sometimes I feel like just a beat up old actor. So
Uh,
that, to a certain extent, I am certain that that colors some of my attitudes about things. But the one thing that I've said for many years, and I don't think it's changed, is that before stepping into these waters, you really, really have to be certain that this is what you want to do.
okay.
Because if you are at all conflicted, you won't last long, you won't do well. You have to be completely committed.
Hmm.
Because the truth about show business, about Hollywood, is that it's a business that doesn't want you, doesn't need you,
Wow.
will not miss you when you are gone,
Wow.
has no love for you, uh, and
Wow.
that's it. And you have to be prepared and knowledge and know, have clear vision, not rose-colored glasses, that you will not be riding around in limousines, you will not be partying with Jay-Z and all these people. You There is a chance, but probably not.
Okay.
And you will probably be working a second job, and that your life will always be a hustle.
Okay.
I mean, now, if it doesn't work out that way, God bless you. But I'm thinking about people I've known who've been in the business longer than me,
Hmm.
and or as long as I have. And I know some people who made it big, who were stars, who came out into the business, and we got out of school at the same time.
Okay.
That's this many, you know, this many.
Mm.
Everybody else I know, there are a lot of people like me who just hustling, trying to get the next gig. I know
Right.
a lot of people who are still in the business, mind you, but
Okay.
who never have had even the opportunities that I've had, still auditioning, doing readings, taking class,
Hmm.
uh, you know, doing little independent projects, uh, on the side, on the weekends, trying to
Hmm.
network with people, get their own thing going, trying to put together money. And it's different now because now you have YouTube. People can have your own YouTube channel and be on social media and do your own thing. You're not beholden to the networks like, you know,
Right.
but you still need people around you who can do certain things, who can write, produce, who have equipment. It's always a hustle, a hustle, and
Hmm.
it's not. You don't get comfortable in a gig that you wake up every morning, work 9 to 5, and have the weekends off, and then you get your retirement. You know, it's not going to be that way. So all of this is to say you just have to have your eyes open. Uh,
Okay.
I would also say that treat your body like your instrument. You have to take care of yourself. I
Hmm.
think I don't take classes, but I did for a while, and I would suggest for anybody getting into the business, take class, learn your craft, take acting class, take singing class, take movement class or karate class, something to get your body moving and strong and flexible.
Okay.
Uh, I would also say read, find out what's going on, or be knowledgeable about what's going on in the
Okay.
industry, in the town, who people are. So I mean, but
That, that's
so
good
those are
advice,
some
though.
things. Yeah, but
Yes.
first, and then I would also, this is the other thing I would say, and one of the most important things, I would suggest you learn a skill, something you
Mm,
can do to make money. I think the
okay.
mistake, and particularly if you're a young person, I think that what happens is that people say, older people who are filled with wisdom, by the way, and I
Hmm.
know people said this to me when I got in the business, or when I
Right.
saying I wanted to get in the business. You need something to fall back on. That's going to turn people off because people say, "Oh, I'm not going to fall back because if I fall back, I've given up."
Hmm.
So I want to give to older people the proper language to use. Don't suggest that people need something to fall back on. Suggest that they learn a skill so that they'll be able to make money while they are so they can pay their rent while they are pursuing their dream.
Nice.
Because you can be out here, as we know, you can have had a taste of success and you still, as we see, end up working at the grocery store or driving Uber or substitute teaching or
Right.
doing word process, something. You have to pay the rent.
Understandable.
And so what you want to do is learn to do something so that you can so that you're not just waiting tables,
Hmm.
or I mean, if you want to drive Uber or Lyft or whatever, I'm not looking down on any honest work, but there are
Right.
some jobs that provide you the flexibility. They're going to pay you better, and
Yes.
so if you can learn to type and do data entry or something, and you can work nights, or this is what I'm talking about. Learn a
Yes.
skill. If you can do carpentry, then you can set your schedule better because you have flexibility to go out on auditions. You can work your schedule around when you're doing handyman work or whatever.
Understandable.
But yeah, so that would
Okay.
be the other thing I would say.
All right. Now, one thing I want to do before we let you go, we'll read some of these questions, but before I do, there's something new I'm doing on this show, and it's called Take the Floor. So, Joseph, what I'm doing, I'm stepping back, and I'm gonna let you take the floor. And anything that you want to say to any of your fans right now, I give you 2 minutes if you want to thank them or whatever you want to do. The floor is yours, Joseph. Anything you want to tell your fans is watching right now. It's on you.
Well, I don't. I've been talking a lot, so I feel like I've had the floor. and but I really, I think the other thing that I'll say this much: as I've grown old and fat and cynical and bitter and more humble, or at least I think I hope I've become more humble after taking the absorbing the blows of life or that life offers to us. Um, I've grown to appreciate, I don't want to say fans, but people who appreciate my work and appreciate having watched me over the years. I really do appreciate them. I think that there was a time I don't think I ever really took it for granted, but I don't think I loved people back as much. And that's really what it is. I'll never forget. I was the play I mentioned way earlier that when I was standing by for Reg Caffey, I was crossing the street, and this woman leaned out of her window as I was in the crosswalk. We love you. And I looked, and she was driving an old car because she had to roll the window down like this. So
Ah,
that's how old that car was. We love you. And I thought about that, and I smiled. I waved back. I said, thank you. And that was one of those moments where it really hit me that that's really what it is. When people come up and say hello and want to chat, shake my hand, can I take a picture with you? Can I get your autograph? That kind of thing. It really is an expression of love and of an appreciation that somehow something that I did touched them, meant something to them, played some part in their life. And that's so special because even though I might not be making, you know, money like a doctor, a lawyer, whatever,
right.
you know, in those professions, people don't stop their car in the middle of the street and say, I love you.
That's true. That's very
It
true.
doesn't happen. They write
Yes.
the check, say thank you, and then that's it. But they don't they don't get that kind of people wanting to just have a tactical experience with them. Let me shake. Yeah, I just want to shake your hand.
Right.
I just want to tell you, I saw you on this episode of whatever, and it just meant so much to me. I used to watch you back in, and I just have to say, whatever. Can I have a picture with you? That's really special. So that's the end of my floor speech, I guess.
Good job. I'm gonna read 3 or 4 questions, and then after that, I'm gonna let you spend time with your family. Let me see here. Gary Brusty said, what was your favorite food item at Daddy J's?
Favorite food item? Well, I used to do 2 things. I would test. I didn't eat a lot of my own food, not because it wasn't good, not because it wasn't good, but we served rib tips
Okay.
at the restaurant, and so I would have the rib tips with the apple barbecue sauce, and I thought that my hot wings were really good. So those were the 2 things that were my favorite. My oldest, I know his was our buffalo chicken sandwich, which was everything was fried. Of course, it was a chicken restaurant,
Right.
a wing restaurant,
Right.
but was a breast, all white meat breast, was breaded, fried, tossed in the hot sauce on lettuce with pickles and blue cheese sprinkles on a toasted bun, and it was
Okay.
quite good.
Nice. I had another person up here. His name is Peter. He said, what singing have you done professionally? He said, I thought you do more musical theater in high school.
Ah, I did do musical theater in high school. I was forced to. Miss Priest made me sing. I don't sing. Let me I don't sing well. Certainly not well enough that anybody's going to put me in a musical. But no, I did in high school. He's right.
Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna give you one more. This is not a question. This is coming from one of your old classmates, Jim Ryan. He says,
Oh, hey.
yeah, he says, hi, Joe. It's your former schoolmate, Jim Ryan from GW in Denver, class of 1979. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, Jim, it's good to hear from you. I'm doing well. I think Jim got married about 5 years ago, so congratulations to that, to you, Jim, and hope you're doing well.
All right. And some other comments. We will let Joseph come back on the show. He will come back and watch and see some of the comments. If he have a chance to answer them, he'll type them up here. Because we will let him spend some time with his son that's graduating, and people are saying congratulations to your son up here also.
I'm very proud of him, very proud of him.
Yes.
He graduated from West Point on Saturday, received his commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army, and so he leaves I guess he has a week and a half before he leaves, and then he's going to go back, spend time with his lady friend, his young girlfriend, who is a beautiful young lady, and then he reports to Fort Benning in Georgia and goes to tank school.
Nice.
I don't think that's classified information. I hope it's not. But if it is, then they shouldn't let the kids tell their parents.
Oh boy. I got you. Joseph, thank you for coming on the show. Tell your son I said congratulations, and I'd love to have you back on in the future.
It was my pleasure. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. All right, guys, make sure you do stay tuned to the next episode of The Big Scoop with Coop. It'll actually be announced soon. You all have a great night.